Guys, this is my project sketch of my PBQ for Education 407. So basically my entire idea of this PBQ is for the 5th grade level. It's a combination of social science and music for the subjects. The standards for social science are Standard 5.9, students know the location of the current 50 states and the name of their capitals. And also for 2.0 creative expression, Standard 2.3, compose, improvise, and perform basic rhythmic, melodic, and chordal patterns independently on classroom instruments. The duration of this project is 2 weeks. So basically the overall concept is that all the students will know the states and capitals by heart, and they'll also be able to identify specific traits that represent the state. So, for example, if they were given California, they would be able to tell that the capital is Sacramento, and they would be able to list a couple key traits about that state, like the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge, the LA, Hollywood, Disneyland, different things like that. They'll be able to list those type of things. That way they don't just know the basic facts about the states, but they also know like fun facts about the states as well. So the driving question for this PBQ is, how can you as students learn and memorize the states and capitals in the most efficient way? For the first week, we are going to get a song from YouTube that is the states and capitals song, and they're going to listen to it a couple times, and we're going to progressively learn and memorize that song throughout the week. So it'll probably be about an hour a day where we'll just practice frequently, listen to the song over and over again, practice different parts of it, and put it all together. So that way, at the end of the week, on the Friday, they will be taking a test. So hopefully they will be able to pass the test with all the practice that we've been putting into the song. Throughout the week, besides the song, we will be doing worksheets, quizzes, random little pop quizzes, stuff like that. So that way the students can get extra work on the states and capitals song if singing or music doesn't really adhere to their learning. That way it applies to all different types of learners, not just the auditory learners. They can do the hands-on learners, the visual learners, all that. So that way everyone has an equal opportunity to learn the states and capitals correctly before we move on to the second week. In that second week, each student will get assigned one state, and on our wall in the classroom there will be a huge cutout of the map of the United States, and each student will get assigned one state. So they will go, once they've gotten their state, they will go to the wall and they will trace on a piece of paper their state and cut it out this size that's perfectly matched with the map on the wall. So once they have their cutout, they're required to draw a star where their capital is and write the name of the capital, since they just learned that. And then they'll be able to, in class and at home, throughout the whole week, they'll be given time to create collages on the front side of the state. So, for example, I'm going to use California again. So we would provide magazines, or they would be able to print stuff off the internet, stuff like that would represent California. So they would put a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge, they'd put a picture of Disneyland, and they would just make a huge collage that reasons why people would want to come to California. And so the front side is kind of like a different way of doing a pamphlet or a visiting brochure. It's just more creative so we can display it in the classroom. But once you flip it over on the back, you're going to have a paragraph of why someone should come visit the state, including fun facts about the state, different local attractions, stuff like that. So that way it's kind of like the brochure and explaining why you should come visit, what is there to do here, what are the most common things that people who live here do, stuff like that. So that way it's like a pamphlet and a brochure, and people will learn about it, and then everyone else in the class who didn't do that state will be able to get a better understanding of that state since they didn't complete it. So after that week that we have of building those collages, on the end of that week on the Friday, we will combine all of the different states and we will put them all up on the wall. So obviously there isn't going to be 50 students in the classroom, so beforehand I would create the rest of them, so that way the entire USA map cutout would be filled with different states. So then each person would come up with their state, they would show the class the collage, they would read their paragraph, they would list off some fun facts, basically give kind of like a presentation on why you should come visit that state and everything that they researched about that state. Then when they're done with that presentation, then they would go put their state up on the map where it's supposed to be. So then the whole class would go through that, and then I would fill in with the rest of the states that I completed. And then when we were done, we would all take turns as a class going up and looking at the entire United States map and just discussing different things together. So that way you can see all the different collages. You can see certain parts of the world more focused on agriculture, certain parts of the map focus more on attractions and visitors and all that touristy kind of stuff. So this just gives students a visual way of seeing it and also informs them on a lot of facts along with the prior knowledge that they just got of their states and capitals for the entire nation. So right here would be a good example of a collage that's for California. So you can see it has the Golden Gate Bridge, it has Universal Studios, Hollywood, different things like that. And so basically this is the basic concept of it. It would just be in the shape of California and the same size that it would be on the wall. So overall, what do they learn? They basically learn the states and capitals. They also they go more in depth about every state. They don't just learn the states and capitals and memorize where they are and everything, because what good is just memorization? The whole forward learning that we've been learning in this class about education in the future is not just about memorization and tests. Although that is a good way to track students' progress, it's not the way to track a student's knowledge. So what you want to do is you want them to have the prior knowledge of the states and capitals, but you also want them to not just remember California, Sacramento, and just list off different facts. You want them to remember, oh yeah, this is the state that does this, and just have general knowledge about different states and what they're famous for and all that different kind of stuff. So that way they can just have the basic knowledge of their own country. So the new teaching methods that are used in this PBQ would be group collaboration, because they would be learning the song together as a class and they would be putting the map up together as a class. Project-based learning, obviously, for the PBQ. They would be creating their own state. So that's a project in itself, and they're learning about the state while they're creating the project on their own. So I wouldn't really be helping them. And the most important thing about this is the child-driven education. Although there are guidelines and boundaries of what they should and shouldn't do, they're allowed to collage anything. We're not telling them you have to put one attraction, one this. You just have to put pictures of things that represent the state. That's completely up to you. That's in your eyes. If you want to do it in the eyes of a tourist, you do that. If you want to do it in the eyes of someone who already lives there, a resident, then you do that. There's no one way to do it. It is up to interpretation. It's up for each student to do their own thing. And the child-driven education also applies to writing their own paragraph describing why to visit that state. So it gives them an opportunity to kind of sell their state, make everyone else be jealous of their state, like, oh, I want to go there, that sounds interesting, I never knew that about that state, or whatever. So it allows students to just have a lot of knowledge about not only their own state, but all the other states in the United States, because let's be honest, when I was growing up and I learned the states and capitals, I don't even remember half the states and capitals, but even when I didn't learn anything about each state. I just learned the states and capitals, had to memorize them, took a test, and then I forgot all of them. And now to this day, I still don't really know that much about all the other states in the map besides the ones that I visit to or the ones that I live in. So I think this is a great way for students to get a better understanding of their country and different fun facts about things that people live their whole lives without knowing. And it's our country. I feel like every student should be educated about our country. So that is my PBQ on states and capitals for 5th grade students, and I hope you enjoyed it.